What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. Happy Friday. Got a big NBA slate tonight with a lot of different routes to go, and I think there's a lot of viable ways to play. You got a lot of options. It's pretty much the exact same as it was when we left off this morning, which is getting kind of weird because I know we're going to hear about news, and unfortunately, we're probably going to hear about it a little bit later. I hope you guys are premium members. I hope you guys are premium members, but if you're not, we still will try to answer questions if you tag me, but I'm gonna do the priorities for the premium members after lock and stuff in the premium NBA chat. Basically, to go through my core plays are up on the site for all those of you who are premium members. I don't really feel great about the value again. Like, there's a lot of speculative value, but like when you have Rubio, Aldama, and Nance projecting like towards the top of the board value wise, with like nobody especially out. I mean, Aldama has Clark out, but it hasn't gotten there in any of the games yet, I don't think, in a way that we really want. So I just don't feel as great about the value, which is going to make it hard on the spend ups. If we hear about something happening and anybody out where we can do that, then we're, I mean, then we want to play Embiid. We want to do all that. The problem is I love Embiid tonight, but I'm having a really hard time getting him in because I want to play Jaren Jackson. I want to play Desmond Bane. I want to play at least two of Bane, Jones, and Jackson. I think one of them is fine, but I do think you want to have at least one of those guys. So that's going to be one of my spend up-ish spots already. I like Anthony Davis a lot tonight. I like Kyrie, but I think I'll probably get my exposure to Kyrie on FanDuel. And Davis, I'm just having a hard time, sort of similar to Embiid, to get in. And I'd pick Embiid over him if I had to pick between the two because it's, the pricing is close and Embiid gets Charlotte. But Davis could have one of those monster games tonight. So those are the guys who I would be spending up on. I'm just finding my builds as a little bit more middling, using like the 4K value, playing guys like, Kuminga or Kuminga, the other value. I have some Larry Nance, but I don't love it. John Collins, I like that kind of a play. Xavier Tillman. So I'm using the value in like the 5K and 4K ranges rather than the 3K ranges today, just because that's where I'm at. I'm having a hard time with trying to build with these minimum cost guys. I also did build a couple sets of lineups where I took all this extreme value, played Embiid, Kyrie, and Davis, but I don't feel great about that one. I don't think it's the optimal way to play because I think you're really speculating on value. I also think, I just want to throw this something out there. Rubio, if he's really going to be owned as much as he's projected right now, I think Cedi Osman is a good pivot. Cedi Osman is getting more minutes. He's being more productive. And they might fluctuate a little bit. He had the one weird game against Charlotte where he only played 8 minutes. But I do think that Cedi Osman has upside. So he's another one of those other thin value guys. The mid-range guys who I mentioned, I like John Collins, Xavier Tillman, Jonathan Kuminga. Those are the guys that's the kind of value that I'm using. I really like Trae Young tonight as another spend up. He's a little bit more manageable. He's under that 10K range. So I'm finding that I will be able to get to some of him. But the other guys are just very, very difficult for me to get to. One thing I do like about Trae tonight is I love the matchup. I really want to get exposure to that game. I'm even forcing in some Klay Thompson and things like that. But I think that Trae Young just has a tremendous ceiling, and he's basically been, awesome of late. He's put up 59, 60, 50, 48, 54 and a half his last 4 games, and gets another premium matchup against Golden State tonight. And I love the idea of trying to get to him as my spend up. I think you could make the same case for Harden, but I like Trae Young a little bit better than Harden tonight. Very close for me, but I'm just leaning a little more Trae. And I'm just skipping the Lillard, Curry on DraftKings, skipping Lillard, Curry, Tatum, Kyrie, Davis, and Embiid in my biggest buy-in. Although if we hear about any news, anything that comes up, I'm going to change my tune a little bit and start playing some of those guys. I went through game by game earlier with everybody, and I sort of have the same type of thoughts. I think there's a lot of viable routes to go. One other guy who I think you could include in that value is Tobias Harris at 4,900. I think that's a reasonable value for a good matchup. Now, we know he hasn't been that productive, but he does have like a 40-plus upside. Like, I think that's a reasonable guy to use. I didn't end up getting to anything on Charlotte personally, so I'm just going, my teams here. Steph's still questionable. Obviously, that would open up some things, but if Steph plays, if you were able to get a Steph Trey combination without spending too far down, I think I would like that. I just am having trouble personally trusting these really cheap values that we have projected well in the slate, because I just think they're all being a little bit over projected. Well, over-owned in relation to the slate. I'd rather play the 4K guys. I feel better about getting 25 points than the 3K guys who might get 10 and don't really have that often of an upside for much more. But anyway, so Golden State, like I'm forcing in some Clay, as I mentioned. I do like that play. I think DiVincenzo is totally reasonable here. I think taking some Jordan Poole is reasonable. And then I like Kuminga in that game. So I think that everybody on the Golden State side, I do think you have a lot of interest in the highest total on the night. One of the highest totals, usually you see. Atlanta, I think that Bogdanovich is a really good tournament play. Another one of those 4K guys. John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Trae Young, I already mentioned. And if you're not playing Trae, I think playing DeJounte. I really want to get exposure to that game. So at least one guy from Atlanta, one guy from Golden State for me. But I don't mind if you go. I actually have some Trae, Collins, Clay lineups. Washington and Cleveland. I'm not playing anybody from Washington. If I had to, it would be Kuzma. Cleveland, I have no problem with Garland, Mobley. And if you want to get really thin with it, playing Rubio is totally fine. I just don't want to do it personally. That's just where I'm at. But I think it's fine if you end up getting stuck. I just think Mobley and Garland would be my desired plays from that side. Between New Orleans and Houston, we've got, let's see, on the New Orleans side, I think that McCollum and Ingram are both good plays. Didn't quite make core plays for me, but they're both really good plays. I prefer Ingram for what it's worth, but I'm open to both of them. Larry Nance, I do think is, if you're going to spend down, is a guy I would consider using on this thin value slate. And the game starts a little later in case anybody else gets announced out or something like that. Not getting to anybody on Houston right now. No problem if you want to play Jalen Green or Kevin Porter Jr., just not in my lineup builds right at the moment. Really like the Memphis side of this game, of the San Antonio game. I'm Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, and Xavier Tillman are all very high up on my list. So I will be getting exposure to all 4 of those guys. I think Dylan Brooks and Aldama are more fringy plays for me. Wish I had more that I like to run it back with on San Antonio. Can we finally get Trey Jones to pay off a little bit? I don't know. I think that Trey Jones and Sohan are my 2 favorites, but it would be nice to find a run back. If you want to use Keldon, that's fine. Just because I think that playing 3 Memphis guys certainly makes some sense in some lineups, and it'd be nice to have a run back if that's the case. With Minnesota and Chicago, I think that, first of all, I put this in my bets, but one free thing I'll get. I do really like the over in this game. By the way, perfect score, 5 for 5 on bets yesterday. Now going to, this week, I think I'm at about, with one bad day, I still think I'm around 70% for the week. So, check out the bets if you're a premium member. Also, you can check them out for free on Better Takes Discord, which I think that you guys have, but if you don't, please let me know and I'll post it. Fire on questions, guys. I'm just going through my plays. I really like Rudy Gobert tonight, and I am not built much with him. So I'm going to make a note here to make sure to get a little Gobert because I love that price tag. I love him. And I think he's got a chance to have a really big game here, especially if Nazin's about. Now, he's also questionable, but you'll have plenty to pivot to because that game is still at 8 Eastern. So there'll be other options. And obviously, if Gobert and Naz are out, I think we're talking about Luka Garza. And if just Gobert is out, Naz Reid. If Naz Reid is out, it boosts to Gobert. If everybody plays, I still like Gobert, but he's really the one Minnesota guy I'm getting to. I have no problem if anybody wants to play Anthony Edwards, but I'm not getting to it myself. Chicago, a little bit of Caruso in those spend all the way down lineups. If Caruso's out, I would take another shot on Kobe White. Just because, he's a shooter. He can get there, different ways. Just a little bit fitter with Patrick Beverley playing also. So I'm not into the Bulls, but again, not going to fault you for playing any of the big 3. Boston, Marcus Smart keeps showing up as a good projected play. We probably won't know about Brogdon till later. I'm sorry, about Smart till later. If Smart is out, both Brogdon and Derek White and Jaylen Brown are in play. I think Jaylen Brown's being underprojected. I'll include him in with Gobert. It's hard to play Jaylen Brown at a similar price to Trae Young. But if you look at what Jaylen Brown's been doing lately, like when they've really needed help, and the Celtics have really been, haven't looked good at all. I think Jaylen Brown is somebody to really look at. 54, 57 the last 2 games, 44 before that. Had a down game against Portland last time. I think it was a blowout, if I'm not mistaken. And then, I mean, you've got 50 or more in 5 out of 7 for Jaylen Brown, including a 60 in there. That's an interesting play that no one's using. So that's a guy I like to get off the board with. On the Portland side, I certainly understand the Nurkic play. I'm not personally all that excited about it, but I certainly think you could take some shots with Nurkic. 5,800 is certainly reasonable, and never going to argue against Damian Lillard, just not trying to get him in my lineups myself. Kyrie, I really like, but again, having trouble getting up to that price tag. Kyrie, and I can't quite get that extra 700 to where I can play Kyrie instead of Trey. And maybe that's okay, but I do think Kyrie has a nice game tonight for what it's worth. I would love to get a Kyrie. I do have a Kyrie and Anthony Davis lineup, but it's not my big buy-ins. It's like a very, like a $40 buy-in and 15 or whatever. But I do really like Kyrie tonight. He's really the only Dallas guy I really considered strongly. And then the Lakers, I love Anthony Davis, but I'm having trouble getting him in. Just a lot of guys I'm having trouble getting in. So that's sort of a rundown of what I'm doing. Again, it's going to be heavily Memphis focused, Golden State, Atlanta focused for me. I'm going to take a quick look and see what you guys got in here. Any interest in the Houston Pelicans game? I have a little bit of interest in all these games. I just don't really find myself like that. That's definitely not the game I'm like circling. You have, the Pelicans in basically the same situation. A good matchup, bad team they're playing against. But keep playing 8,100 for Brandon Ingram to get there 1 out of every 7 or 8 games. And again, I'm fine with him, he and McCollum tonight, but it's not like we're getting there regularly with these guys. It's just, I don't know. It's not an exciting, I'm not finding anything I love, but if you wanted to play McCollum or Ingram with Porter or Jalen Green, I think that's fine. What's up to my man, MJ? Anthony Edwards interest. I think I just covered that one. I do think he's an interesting play that's off the board. Anthony Edwards Jaylen Brown, Rudy Gobert, all very interesting plays that I want to try to get a little bit of exposure to. Saberson keeps giving out JaMychal Green. Do I think Lamb is back in the rotation after signing a rest of the season contract yesterday? I actually do think he's back in the rotation. The JaMychal Green thing, look, that's another one of those fringy value plays. It's just not the way that I'm building. I'm not finding myself with falling in love with JaMychal Green. I do think there's upside. Like he's another guy you'd include if you're going to do the dumpster diving builds. I just don't feel excited about it. Anthony Lamb maybe getting back in the rotation. I don't think I would like go out and just like play him randomly. If Steph is out, that'll change things a little bit. But I don't really feel like I'm trying to play JaMychal Green or Anthony Lamb. But I'm like fine if you ended up with JaMychal Green. I just don't think it's just not what I'm trying to do personally. We'll see. We'll see at 7:30. The good news is we've only got to skip the Philadelphia-Charlotte game to see if Curry's out. So scary fade with Embiid, scary fade always with Harden and Embiid, but that's where I'm at. Levine, Vooch, and DeRozan, I have them all ranked equally, which means none of them will make any of my lineups. That's where I've got them. I don't like Rubio much tonight, to answer Mark's question. I think it's a very fringy play that's being treated with way too much ownership. And if you told me no one was going to play him and we're starved for value, then I would have some interest. But like, I'm not going to play a 20% owned guy who, like, when's the last time let's just take a look. I have Rubio in my smaller buy-in, but Rubio plays like 20 minutes every game. He can get there. He can also play somewhere between 15 and 20. Seems reasonable. I'd like to have a little bit more of a ceiling for a guy like that. A guy who's not going to play down the stretch of a game when you already have both your guards back. And those games that he's had, remember, Donovan Mitchell missed one of those games. So he had a little uptick there in terms of usage and still didn't really get there. So I'm not as excited about the Rubio play as everybody else is. Keep firing them on in. What do you want me to remember about your Giannis foul trouble yesterday? I remember that you were wrong about Giannis. That's what I remember. I don't remember. I remember you being wrong about Giannis always getting in foul trouble when you played him because he's basically hardly had foul trouble this whole season. So that's all I said. I don't remember what to say about that to Steph. What's up, my man Sam? Curry will play tonight. Oh, he's in. Okay, great. I think Cedi Osman this is what I mean. I knew the show would be about a bunch so that's why I started off with, I really don't like the value on this slate. So if you're going to say that Ricky Rubio is going to be 20% owned and Cedi Osman is going to be 1% owned, when Cedi Osman has shown more of a ceiling with this group, I would play Cedi Osman over Ricky Rubio. Yes. factoring in ownership and everything else like that. Also position eligibility. I prefer the guards to forwards for the most part. So Chetty, I would play him only if I was just trying to get the spend ups, which I'm not. I've decided unless we hear some significant news, I'm not going to do that. And as I expected, somebody said they thought Steph was to be out. Steph, I always thought would be in, and he is in. It looks like as of right now. See if I missed anything else that are questions, but guys, keep firing them on in. Happy to take you up to that. Yeah, we'll go from there. I don't know. Let's see. We'll see if there's any starting lineups haven't come out. I don't think so. But according to Sam Testu, who I trust, Curry is in, so I'm assuming that that's what's going to happen. All right, guys, I'm going to be here for just actually as much longer as you want to. I'm happy to go through anything, but I'll leave it 6:30 Eastern. But I would like to go over if you guys have any more questions or thoughts. Had kind of a turn in golf today, which really just frustrated me because I had just so many good lineups of guys who were going to miss the cut by one. I thought the -2 was going to be good. The +2 was going to be good enough, which it looked like early in the day. It was like 85%, I want to say, at some point, something like that. And now I'm back to hoping I do have one lineup that I wish the cut was -1 because I've got everybody under that. It's a weird lineup, but it's kind of doing well for me. So, hoping for some golf turnarounds a little bit. Absolutely, Mark. That's the right. I love that play. I really like that Gobert play. Who would I run with Davis? Anthony Davis. So yeah, I'm having that's exactly it, Pingalore. Like that's the problem. So I made one cheap lineup build, like where I played like a bunch of cheapos and I played all 3 spend ups. But this is not my core. This is like literally the guys I don't want to particularly play. And I just wanted to make sure I had it in one lineup. In that lineup, I have Kyrie, Davis, and Embiid. So in that lineup, the value that I'm using, I'll just give you a few of them: Rubio, Osman, Bogdanovich, Larry Nance as my preferred options for value. But I'm really honestly not all that excited about it. Might be feasible on FanDuel. We really probably need news for it to be too feasible. Jaden Hardy done play tonight? Yes. Unless Kyrie's out, which would be surprising based on everything, Jaden Hardy would be a terrible play. At 7,300, I don't even know what we'd be thinking about. Like, all those numbers Jaden Hardy put up was with Kyrie out, right? Just want to make sure because and Tim Hardaway for one of those games too. D'Angelo Russell, no interest for me at all, really. Guy can't even get there without AD. I'm not going to play him and just hope he gets hot from 3. So no Russell for me. If he gets there, so be it. There's no rhyme or reason why D'Angelo Russell's like a good play tonight if Davis plays. If somehow Davis ends up out, now you got ahead of everybody. But at the same time, didn't work out the other day and 60% ownership, and he just totally let everybody down. And he's in Josh Green and what? No. If Grant sits, no. I mean, no. Like, look, we weren't playing Watford. We weren't even playing Watford with Grant and Nurkic out. Just feels like a kind of a rough play, but they do like him and they give him minutes. I don't know what to do with it. I guess that Rodford, I would say, is meh. He's not making any of my lineups, but if you want to play him, I think that if Grant's out, I think that's okay. I do think that's okay if Grant's out, but I don't know how you're going to know that because that game doesn't start till late. And as of right now, I'm pretending every team competing for a playoff spot is going to try. Hardy, of course, if Kyrie sits, but like, you're not going to know that. You're just not going to. You're not going to have that information. So you just have to adjust. Doesn't matter. We can speculate all we want. We're just not going to have that. No, but Jaden Hardy's fine if he sits. What is that? Oh, I don't care if he had one game with Davis where he puts up 54 fantasy points. You're going to tell me he's the best 8,400 play on the slate? Because one guy has a game a couple times does not mean anything at all. That's a terrible way. If that's the way you're approaching the slate, I would completely just throw out your thing and not do that anymore. Because a guy has a game while someone else was there once is just not a thing. I mean, what's D'Angelo Russell averaging? Let's see, as a Laker. So he had the 2 big games where he was red hot. He made 6 out of 11 threes and 5 out of 8 threes. Am I going to rely on that from a guy who I think, no, I'm not. I'm not going to take outlier shooting performances into account for D'Angelo, for a guy who's 8,400, way overpriced. Even if he puts a 50 tonight, it's not like there's other guys who are 8K going to be putting up near 50. Darius Garland, 7,400, and I think he's a much better play than D'Angelo Russell. Lillard with the narrative of being shut down if they don't make ground. Yeah, I think that's an interesting tournament play. I can sign off on it. The only problem is I prefer Kyrie, and I think you're going to get low ownership on both. So that's, I guess, my only aberration. I'm getting kind of a lot of people DMing and stuff in me over here. I can't really pay attention to it right now. I'm trying to pay attention. Nick, good question. So let's talk about the March Madness. I'm actually I played three brackets, I guess, 3 lineups, and I entered them into some different things. I have UCLA, Kansas, and Purdue as my 3 teams. I think that UCLA, I feel a little worse about. It's more of a heart play because of the injuries they're dealing with. But I think Kansas is probably the most reasonable pick. But I do like the Purdue, and I think that there's upside for a team like Baylor. I don't know what happened. I'm guessing Creighton won today. I have Creighton as in the Final Four in 2 of my things, I think. So we'll see how that one goes. Let's see. I'm in the let's see. It tells you where you're at. I'm in one at 50%, one at 9%, which is doing terrible, and then one at 96% of the bracket. So we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. Tyus, Dante, Bogdan, Collins, Rudy, Bain, Aldava, Davis. This could be a way to get Davis in. Sure. You're kind of sure. Go ahead. That seems like a lot of stuff to go out of the way to try to play Davis when there's guys who are 9K who probably score at least in the range often enough. So I'm not going to do that. But I do. By the way, I do like Creighton as a sleeper. They were one of my sleeper Final Four teams. I didn't have them winning it, but I did have them in the Final Four in a couple of lineups, a couple of things. All right. What else do we have? Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. And good luck to all of you. Good luck. I hope the golf picks up. I hope the basketball goes well tonight. I'll be in the premium Discord helping out whatever I can. Thanks a lot, guys. And let's crush it tonight.